person we meet sign one of these, we want to make sure it's a good fit. We want to make sure that people that we're committing to, we have the time to actually perform all these tasks versus if you haven't signed an agency agreement, then we're just kind of doing things sporadically for you. So it's really building out that understanding of here's all the things we're doing for you, here's what you agree. And I do think it's really important. So the left side is basically here's what we're doing for you. And then the right side is, here's what you agree to do for us. I do think it's important to go through that a little bit. This is for, and you've got to read the client too. I will say for the more analytical clients and the people that I know are going to want a little more background on paperwork, I go through both sides and it's kind of an agreement of here's what I'm doing for you. Here's what you're agreeing to do for me. Can we agree to work together? Wonderful. For people that, then you also have the people that they just want to get out and see houses. And they're like, I just, I want to know the process, but I trust you as a human being, or I trust you and your branding. So those people, we don't go through this. We just slide it over to them at the end of our buyer consult. They sign it. They don't even read it. That's on them. They have the opportunity to sit there and read it. They have the opportunity to get it sent to them. But I found that the less reading the client, if the client is analytical and they want to go through everything, every bullet point, highlight certain things. If they just want to sign it and see houses, have them sign it off and don't overstress what it's saying. Because that's the world we live in. People just, you guys know when you send a purchase agreement over, they sign in 10 seconds and you're like, that's a lot of faith you put in me, but great, good to know. Glad you trust me. So that's the big thing, is knowing when to present it. So you can bring up those two packets or those 2 pages. So we have a buyer packet. It's probably 30 pages of information. But we have 2 kind of specific pages that build in value, and we talk through this stuff. So we'll say, these are the things that we're doing for you. In the front of our buyer packet has a bunch of reviews, testimonials. We'll send this to them if they want a copy of it, but it's really just sitting down with the people that, do want a little more extensive process and going through, here's what we do for you. We know the market. I'll give examples of like a recent sale or something we've done recently that exemplifies some of these things rather than just like read through the list. And then at the end, it goes through agency and commissions. So we talk about first love owner. We talk about next gen right in our buyer consult. We talk about the issues that you would have with them, that they don't cooperate with us, that if you want to see a house from them, we definitely can do everything we can, but they're probably not going to let us in the door. You might have to see if you can take videos of the home. I also explain that I've been in the business 8 years. I've only sold 1 next generation home. There's a reason for that normally, just because of the quality and things like that. So it's not ever talking bad about other people, but it is making people really aware, because then people don't send us those houses and we don't have to deal with that as much, and they don't have to pay that commission. So helping them understand with first love owners, let us reach out first. We can almost always, we do 3% on the exclusive agency, so the buyer side of the commission. We can almost always get this paid by the seller on a first love owner if you let us reach out to them first. We have forms, we have agreements for that. And then I'll go into, next gen outside brokerages or outside MLSs, things like that. And we've just found that people don't want to see those houses. They don't want to deal with it. And not deal with it in the sense of like that company specifically. They don't want to pay the extra 3% if they like house A and house B, and they can just pick one of the 2. So we go through all of that. And then the next page that would refer to it in our buyer packet is, there's a cost to the buyer page. So I go through very clearly that everyone puts like commission is free. And it's like, no, the commission isn't free. The commission is 3% of the sales price, but it's almost always paid by the seller. So we put it on there, very clearly that like with us, if we're doing this exclusive agency agreement, that is what the commission is. And then it's in their head that, okay, I do have to pay a commission, but it's a win if I, am working with kind of a standard brokerage, or I let my agent know ahead of time, let them do their job. And I just, our job is to be good negotiators, to be good at talking to the sellers. Our job is to make sure you don't have to pay that, hopefully. But if you do, it's in there. It's not everything's free, because I do think we're going to get to a point where people are smart on the listing side, and they know that if you have the listings, you have the power in the market, especially in a market like this. So they're not going to always give 3% probably. Like as that changes naturally, and as we have some of these like flat fee companies or, listing services like UpNest, HomeLight, things like that, they're not going to give as much because they're having to take less to get that business. So just want to prepare people for that and make it the standard. We've raised certain like fees within our team structure, other things. And I think it's just the more that it becomes a standard across the industry, and it is a standard across different teams, but the more it becomes a standard across the industry that like you're paying for the buy side, people have no problem paying for the sell side. It's just what people are telling them for information wise. So we'll go through, commission, earnest money, home inspection. So this page is meant to like say, hey, this is what we charge for things. This is what we do. This is what you can expect. And then we just build in the commission and talk about that as part of it. So once we go through our buyer packet, the rest of our buyer packet is pretty simple, pretty standard. Get pre-approved, trust your realtor, here's some reviews, work through the whole process. And we talk them through the whole process of buying the house, protecting their investment, what to expect at home inspections, yada, yada. And then we get to the end. And so in our buyer consult, it's basically, meet them, build a rapport with them, get to know them. I'm a big fan of the mindset of just curiosity, because we all get in the habit of like saying the same thing over and over again. So just being curious about their situation, what their questions are, going through their criteria, going through the buyer packet. And then I've never had anyone, if I've presented the exclusive agency agreement in a buyer presentation, I've never had someone not just like instantly sign it. That's not saying every single person would. You have to read the client. There are some clients where, I've sat with team members and we both just kind of look at each other and it's like, we're going to save this one, or we're going to email this one, because you can tell they're a little more hesitant. So then you email it over, and then there's kind of tiers for when we use it. So if you meet with a client, you think they're a good fit for you, you think it's all great, then sign it right away in that initial consult. If you meet with them and then it's, oh, we don't really know where this is going to go, or they might be more hesitant, then it's just, and we have it, it's knowing, like being confident in what your process is, right? So you're agreeing to work with this person too. So if it's not a sign right at the consult, then it's we need this signed before we get your search set up. So, hey, go get approved. We need this signed up, then we'll get your search set up. Because you've got to think about, what do they want? They want access to the MLS, and they want access to you to open houses. So if you think they're still a little cold, then it's, hey, I've got your search set up. Send me some houses you're interested in, or I'll send you some. We need this signed up before we see the first house. So that's kind of, if it's a connection, there's kind of those three tiers, and it makes it seem very simple. It's just like any other business deal. If you're working with a financial advisor, you're going to sign off on some sort of agreement before they're going to set up accounts for you. You're going to sign off on some sort of something before this next step happens. So it's just treating it like a business. Before you get to this step of working with us, we just need to sign this off. And then last case scenario is, every scenario is a little different, but I know a lot of people work colder leads too. So that's just knowing the client. A lot of times we'll try and do, if I work a colder lead, I'll do the initial consult, no agency, because you're going to turn some people off. Like, I think people that are against exclusive agency are the people that, are thinking you have to do it with like a cold lead and say, hey, you have to sign this before I'll come meet you at the house. Like, no one's going to do that. So meet them at the house, build rapport, show them one house, maybe show them a couple more, but we try to get it signed before that second showing, just saying, hey. And honestly, I met with a realtor the other day that does really well with Zillow, and she straight up told the client, like, I am paying to meet with you. Like, I pay a lot for leads. I'm paying for this lead. I would love to be your realtor. I would love to have the opportunity to serve you. And I thought that was awesome, because it's like a lot of people just have no idea, and they have no loyalty to you, because they're like, okay, well, they were the closest one, that can come open the door. But I think if they know that you have skin in the game, you want to work for them, that you're paying to represent them, essentially, that can help a lot too.
An interesting way to look at that.
If someone told me that they paid for like the lead, I would want to be more loyal if I knew them already, or if I had a good experience and I knew that already.
I'll have you talk really loud so we can enjoy our time.
I don't really have enough voice either.
Apparently this is, we'll try this a little bit.
Okay. Hello? Is it working? Okay. So I had a realtor.com lead, and I met them there, and we had a lender partnership. So any lead we got through them, we had to give to the lender as like a pre-approval thing. And so ended up going through with them, and it was fine. Ran into a lot of issues with this lender and didn't end up following through with them. And obviously I'm newer. And so we ended up switching financing 2 weeks before close, but my client was just like obviously upset I referred this lender to him, but it probably wouldn't have been my first choice. But I knew we kind of had this partnership and we kind of had this, you need to, they're paying for the leads too. They deserve the deal. And so I like held it back for how long we were working together for like 5 months. And he was like, well, why did you refer me to this guy? And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you came in as a realtor.com lead. We pay for those. He contributed to them. And, that's why I referred you to him. And it honestly made it so much better for our relationship in the end. Cause he was like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Cause I could tell you were just as annoyed with him as me. I tried not to be, obviously, but there were so many bad issues. But yeah, I think that made me want to just be upfront about it from the get-go. And it's, I think, better in the end. But yeah.
And that's a great example. And I'm just a big believer in like, everyone has scripts, everyone has, things that we use as tools in this business. But the more you can just like level with people and be like, this is who I am, this is how I operate. You're not going to be a good fit for everyone, but like, I'm pretty sure in every buyer consult, I'm extremely blunt. If I don't like a house and I don't think it's going to resell, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to waste your time. Like, we'll still show it to you. But most people appreciate if you just level with them and tell them how you are. So, yeah.
But I think to speak on that though too, like in your situation. So if we have a lender that's providing those sorts of leads or paying for it, we'll still provide a list of lender options, right? Where it's like, hey, top of mind is this lender, they've provided that lead or helped to provide that lead. However, we still give them that opportunity to shop around for lenders. So they're not bound to that. Whereas on the back end, we have another transaction. We'll make sure if, those clients aren't coming to that lender, that we have clients with another transaction that are, where we share that, that lender and get them pre-approved. So.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say too. Like, we have, lenders we partner with, and there might be like a person that needs, they might need rapid rescore or more credit help or something, or they might need a different setup, or they're already tied in with like someone at a Viridian or whatever. But we're pretty like open with them on the sense of like, oh, this person went here, but like, here's these other ones we've sent, or here's what we have coming up. So they actually probably get better leads and more out of us just from it being like personal sphere stuff, but like still doing what's right for the client, and they know they're like coming out ahead or better normally.
Yeah. And this client was buying personal.
Yep.
I was newer at the time too, like 2 months.
Like 2 months into my career. And other people on our team had worked with him. So we thought it was going to be a good fit, and it just ended up opening up a lot of bad, like, so many things happened, and I like, we both learned so much. And in the end, it worked out like perfectly. He was like, I'm glad you were honest with me. He's like, you did your job, and we're still like super close to this day. So it ended up being probably better that we went through hell, but yeah, definitely not gonna ever do, you have to use this guy. And it wasn't like that. I just referred him first, and then he just went with it.
Yeah.
It was his first time. So he was like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Will you share a little bit about how you get people to come in for the buyer consult? Because that's another objection that I hear a lot from agents, is that I don't have time to do it. I can't get people to come in and do it.
Yeah.
So if you share about that.
Yeah. Most of, like, anytime it's a referral, it's normally a very easy, like, so my process is normally, hey, let's jump on a call. Let's get just the basic details. And we have like a buyer discovery form is what we call it. So it's basically on that call, like, let's talk. If they want, I'll give them the option of let's hop on a quick call or let's go into the office. But normally it's a quick call just to like vet them a little more and see where they're at, especially when we get into busy season. It's like, let's hop on a call. Let's see where you're at. Then it really depends on like if they bought a house before, or if they seem to like be really tracking with what I'm saying, then I say, hey, it's always an offer. It's next step in our process. I normally give people stats of like, 80% of our clients want to come and meet for a buyer consult. The reason we do that, 45 minutes to an hour, we will go through the entire process. the reason for doing that is, you know, we're in a seller's market still where houses are moving quickly. And so we want you to be able to write an offer immediately when you find what you want. And you have to do that to be competitive in a lot of situations. So let's come in, let's go through everything. That way, once we're done with this consult, our clients are really confident in writing an offer, you know, signing off same day after seeing a house if they need to, because we've talked through everything on the front end. You also have people that, like, a lot of times once we get into spring market, I feel like people are just like, hi, can I see these 7 houses like today? And so when you have that, I'm not going to be like, yes, but first we need to meet at the office. Like, I am not an agent that's like, I need to meet at the office. I need to, like, unless it's a safety thing or something of that nature, I get that. But if they're ready, because the whole idea of the buyer consult is to get them to agree to you and to sign the document. If they already want to see a bunch of houses, then normally I'm just going to go show the houses and they're probably going to write on one of those. And then it's like, okay, we're going to sign this exclusive with the offer so that you have it for future offers. And we'll go over that. You know, we've agreed to work together. We've established a relationship. This will be part of your documents. But yeah, so it really just depends. Like, I'm not going to make someone come in for a consult if they're confident enough that they want to go look at houses and they want to go see these ones right now. Yeah. Yep. But stats are big. I feel like if you tell them, hey, 80% of our clients come in for this consult, you know, it's really how much knowledge you want, what you know already. Have you bought a house? We've already asked, have you bought a house before? So it's like, I know you've bought a house before. If you need a refresher, we're more than happy to do that. Obviously, a lot has changed in 15 years or whatever. So refer back to their situation. But a lot of the times it's just whether or not they want it, and telling them, I prefer to have it if they're a first-time buyer, because then when they want to buy something, it's like we've been through it all and they're ready to write right away. I remember when I wasn't doing buyer consults, like my first year in business, and people would go see houses, and then you ask someone to write an offer on the second house they've seen, and they have no idea what they're doing, and then it's just like, it's very hard to like get things done because or you also run into the issue of, if we haven't gone through all of this. So we have a practice of, we'll go through all this. If they want a copy, we'll send it to them. I'm thinking about it right now. And I'm like, we probably should just send them all a copy, but it's also how much of your information do you want out there swirling around with everyone? But it's also the practice of, if we went through this, it's the same packet for everyone. It's the same process for everyone. And like all of our systems automated. So you're avoiding a lot of liability too, of like, did we talk about that? Did we not talk about that? Did we go over tour scopes and home inspections and this and that? Because I know if we do the buyer consult, they're getting all the same information that our other buyers would get.
Well, and the other piece of that would be fair housing too, making sure that you're providing the same services to all customers.
Yeah, and that's where some people, like I've just noticed in our reviews too, like a lot of people that write reviews will be like, you know, they were the first person to sit down and really go through all of this stuff with me. So I think just realizing for future referrals and future just like business, as much as we don't think it's necessary sometimes, that is like what has gotten me a lot of my future referrals, is because they're like, she was the only one, like we bought 5 houses. She's the only one that ever sat down and like went through the entire process, start to finish, yada, yada. So it's important to do it for sure for the people that want it, you know.
Have you had any pushback on commission? I know we get that a lot on the listing side with people asking if we'll do it for less. Have you had any?
No. I think it's because, I mean, if you sit them down and you treat them like a, you know, client and you're a professional, then in that relationship, most people aren't, you're not going to ask your doctor to, hey, can you do this exam for less, or that your attorney, hey, can you do this for less? But a lot of people get that rap in real estate because a lot of people think that we just open doors and cash checks. So if you're the realtor that wants to just open doors and cash checks, then you're probably going to get some pushback on commission. Yeah.
I'm going to guess you don't get a lot of pushback on your listing commission either.
Ours is higher than standard. So sometimes we'll get, well, there's no standard, but ours is higher than some maybe. So sometimes, but it's normally like a like, you know, military, like referral past client type of thing, where it's more so like we would make that decision on our end. I've had that happen like once, and it's normally if it's, I need X amount to get my next house. And then we have the conversation of like, this is our standard. We don't negotiate on it the same way we wouldn't negotiate, and give away money on like your home price or your negotiations. But if we have to talk about it and it's going to prevent you from getting your next house, like they know that I'm going to do what's right and just what's right ethically as a person, in my opinion, but also like I'm never going to stop someone from getting to that next stage if it's something that I can help. Now be careful with saying that, because then there'll be people that'll be like, oh, well now I want a $450,000 house because I, need 10 grand off commission. And that's different. It's normally like they're very tight on something and they want a specific house and we've got to make something work with the lender. So we've done that before, but very rare, probably twice ever.
Well, and I think it's okay. You kind of came back with the industry standard. We can't talk about an industry standard, but you can have your own standard.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a team standard. You can have an individual standard for what you choose to work for. Absolutely okay to put it out there like that. It's just that the industry standard that.
Yeah.
All right, questions. I need my online friends to wake up. I'm sure Tracy has a question because she usually has one. She doesn't? I'm going to share so that Kelsey can see your pretty little faces. Oh, Jennifer, what do you got?
I guess my biggest question is, how do you enforce it at the end? Like if they did go FSBO and they're like, hey, sorry, we went FSBO, we're going to go this way.
I've never had that happen. So that's where just like in the buyer consult, being really strong on, this is what's being paid. So like if you end up working with a FSBO and they don't want to work with us, normally we can get it worked into the purchase price too, right? So if FSBO won't pay us, we can always, work on, okay, let's do this as seller concessions back, build up the purchase price. So we can do that. Or not seller concessions, but paying that as a line item on the settlement statement, building up price. So there's a lot of different ways that we can get paid on it without it coming out of the buyer's pocket. So that would be the approach. Like I've had that probably 3 times on a sub owner where they're like, we're going to give you 2%, but we're not going to give you 3. Our exclusive agencies for 3. So then like the buyer will pay the difference, like the 1%. We've had that happen probably 3 times where like the buyer has to bring the difference. But normally they just don't want to deal with it. Like they know they're going to have to bring more money. It's the same way as when you look at like, do we want to do a, FHA loan versus a conventional loan? Well, a conventional loan, we can do 3% down. We're saving 0.5%. We might have a slightly better rate. So like, we're going to do conventional, right? So they might look at that house and say, okay, I know I'm going to have to bring this extra money, or I can look at house B that's really similar. And so we just make it really clear to them, like what the first lobby owner is paying, what they're going to have to bring on this house, like before they even see it, they know. And that's another reason we go over it in the agents or in the buyer appointment, is just so that they know, like, I will let you know if any house is not paying the full 3%. So then, seeing that house, you're going to have to bring X amount to make up for it, or we need to get it built into purchase price, all those things. So now, as far as if it was a, we just went and bought a for sale by owner without you, I've never had that happen. If that did happen, I wouldn't probably pursue it legally because 1, I'm all about reputation, and that person is probably going to go tell, like if they don't trust you enough and they don't see enough value in you that they're going to go buy for sale by owner, then I don't think you've done your job. Like at least I wouldn't feel like I had personally. And then if they still do that, like I would have a conversation of, do you understand that because you wrote this contract with the listing agent or with the for sale by owner directly, I'm not technically involved. Like I'm happy to help you with it. I'd have to check with Lance probably and see what I legally can or can't do. Can we write, an addendum that I am now the buyer's agent representing them? They just didn't understand. So I would just talk to them, figure out, did they know, did they not know? Are they wanting me to help them still? Because a lot of this is just like, people don't know. People don't know they're cutting you out of it. They don't know that you can't give them, specific assistance at that point. So I would make sure I understand the situation. If they're just like, yeah, screw you, I don't want to work with you, then I would be like, okay, I didn't do my job well at some point. I do know people that go after it legally. But I think that's a very quick way to ruin your reputation and have that person tell all their friends that you sued them for commission. And I just wouldn't probably do that.
I know that one comes up a lot and, you know, agents are really worried about it, but stop and think how many times that you would have that situation with a listing contract. It's the same kind of thing. As long as you have fully educated your client, they are signing it eyes wide open with full understanding. It makes it so much better that they're not going to jump in and, you know, go outside of what you're doing. It's when you do the shortcuts and you don't fully explain to them that you tend to have them go off on their own.
And I will say that I've had that happen more on the listing side because I'm the type of person, I want to talk to people right away, right? So like I talk to people sometimes that are 4 months out from listing, like, oh, we're moving to, like I have clients right now, they're moving to Florida in 4 months and they just posted on Facebook like, oh, we're moving in 4 months. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Okay, so we have a listing contract signed, but we just have to know as realtors that I probably should have done better at prepping them that like, hey, I wouldn't make this like public knowledge right away because you will have people potentially try to bring you offers. Then you're going to like maybe get, that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing, right? But then you maybe get excited and you might want to take that first offer. And I think of like, I just had a house accepted last night that had 11 offers without even going on the market. And then it's like, what could you have gotten when you got on the market? They got 30 grand over asking, right? So like it's educating. I would say it happens more on the listing side. People get excited, they share, they talk to their friend, they talk to their neighbor. But normally those people, if they're trying to get it done before it hits the market, they're trying to get a deal. So it's explaining to people, I'm like making a note to add this into my listing presentation to talk about, but it's like explaining to people like why you want to keep things under wraps. And I've had that happen more often, probably like 10 times over the past 8 years. But the thing that I always think about with that is you want to do what you can to protect yourself too. Like I have listing docs signed on that house, for example, but I'm not telling other agents the address. I'm not telling them much about it. I'm not even telling them the neighborhood because there's a lot of agents where if you're like, oh, it's in Greenwood Hills, like they're going to go find those people and like find them on Facebook and figure out who's moving and green, like, so, and I'm not, most agents are great, but it's like, you've got to protect yourself in not talking about things. Like we don't put our listings on our whiteboard in the office until they're listed because you can have it signed all you want. And then someone's neighbor, you know, might live on the same street and you just have to be smart about it too.
So Jennifer online has a question. How long do you do the terms on the EBA?
6 months or a year, depending on the client. So most clients that I work with are going to buy fairly quick. I'd say like 70% of them we know are going to get in, find something pretty quick buy. If it's kind of, hey, I need to work on credit, some other things, this and that, I'll do a year. So I'd say a year, probably 80% of the time I put a year. And then like the other 20% of the time is people that again are more analytical, might like scoff at a year a little bit. And then I'll put it for shorter because I know they're going to make decisions faster. And no one scoffs at that. Like I will say the first time I put a year on there, I was like, someone's going to be like, what the, no, I'm not committing to you for a year, but they don't care.
They just want to get the job done.
Yeah. And I think again, we just as a profession, we like have no confidence in our value. Like if you work with any other professional, you're normally going to commit to working with them for a certain amount of time, and a year is pretty standard. So I think it's just like as an industry, realizing that we do a heck of a lot more than like open doors and write 5-page contracts.
Yes, big on showing your value.
Yeah.
You guys are so quiet.
Sometimes you work with them.
Say.
Yeah.
Just needs a year.
Yeah. And that if they did, you know, you can give like just giving a real world example of like, oh, my last 3 buyers did take, you know, and I say that and then I'm careful too, because in our buyer consult, I do set expectations that most of my buyers buy a house within the first 8. And some people buy the first house they see, some people buy, you know, after they see 30 plus, but like most of my buyers are pretty savvy and look at a lot online and they know what they want and we figure it out pretty quick. And so I'm always like, you know, we'll see as many as you need to, but I've found that setting expectations of like how long a showing is on average, you know, if we don't like a house immediately, we can leave. We don't need to use the whole time frame because people just are trying to be polite, I think, and they don't realize that I don't have to be at this house for 30 minutes if I'm scheduled for a 30-minute window. So that's helped a lot because then people have the like thought that if I see more than 8 houses, like I'm kind of the pain in the ass client, you know? And it's like, I will show you as many as you want, but that is like average for my buyers. So I'm going to let you know that. So you're not thinking that I'm the agent that's going to show you 40 because I probably don't want to work with that person if they want to see 40 houses.
Because they can't make a decision.
Correct.
Angela online is asking about your next generation script. Angela, what do you mean as far as just how she approaches next generation?
I just talk about next gen and for sell by owners as a whole. And I just say, you know, there are some people that will not cooperate with realtors, whether that is a for sale by owner, whether that is an outside MLS or Next Generation Realty is a, you know, main company in the metro. A lot of the times, I would say 95% of the time, they won't even let me in the door. They don't cooperate with realtors. You know, I'm happy to have it work for you if we need to, but like I'll want to see if we can get video of the property and we need to make sure that's legal. And I just make it sound really fucking difficult because it is. Sorry for my language, but it's like, it is very, very difficult to work with them. So I just let buyers know real life examples of, you know, I've had them try to sue past clients when they were at fault and they were the one that failed to perform. So it's just giving them real, like if you tell them that they've sued past clients when they failed to perform, most people are not going to want to deal with that. And so it's just, it's like telling them politely all the crap we deal with. And then they're going to be like, no, thank you. I don't want to do that. But I think it's also reaffirming, you know, if your dream house is one of those homes, like we will do everything we can to make it work. But again, I say in the last 8 years, I've had one person buy one. And there's something to be said for that.
So just making sure that you're being very honest in what you are sharing and letting your client make the decision.
Yeah, and just
for
use
sure.
real examples. And like I get a little heated with you guys because you know like the back end of all of that and how ridiculous some of it is. But it's like, just if you bring up that they have had, you know, anything that you've had as a personal situation, like legally or not being able to enter the homes with your client, like there's just no point for that. That doesn't make anyone's experience, you know, go smoothly, and that I can't protect you if I can't see the house. So just talk through those things. And most of them will be like, I have clients be like, well, dang, I wanted to see this one, but I'm not dealing with that. And they'll send me like an extra listing and I'll be like, if you want to, and they're like, nope. So.
Next questions.
We brought up the form at our team meeting, I think most recently. And we keep saying like, there's nothing in here that says if they don't follow this, what will happen? And like, obviously no one is going to take them to court if they don't use us.
Oh, people do.
Like, I mean, yeah, but like, how are you really going to do that if they buy one house? Don't buy one house and ruin your, well, yeah, but are you going to do that?
No.
Because it's going to ruin your reputation.
Well, I mean, it does say like buyer agrees to pay the balance.
Should
Yada, yada.
have something on there that says like if they don't, because there isn't really anything
Well, I
on
mean,
here
you're
that
signing a
says-
legally, so here's my thought with that. You're signing a legally binding contract.
right, and
So
it doesn't really
With
say
a
that.
purchase agreement, there's not a ton of language of like, if you fail to perform, we're going to sue you. You know, it's just understood when you sign a contract, if you fail to perform, you might get sued.
Yeah.
I think, because
Yeah.
that's not verbiage that's in like other contracts. It's just kind of like, that's the next step if someone wanted to pursue legal action. But I think it's stronger that it's not in there, because if I was someone reading this and like the contract specifically said, if you don't perform, I'm going to sue you,
You
then
think
I would
it'd be
probably
worse.
have a little bit of a feel like we have sometimes with other companies we've talked about before. So I think it's like stronger not being in there.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That's
you
just
can,
kind of
you
what we
can
go
always
back.
ask Lance. Like, I love to ask Lance if I can edit forms. And then he's like, why are you such a pain in my ass?
No, I just wonder because it kind of like it affects like your skin in the game. Like it doesn't really say what if they, because you know, some people are like, well, what's it say? Do you have to do it? You know, I'm just thinking like how some people would read it. And
Like, do I have to sign this?
no, like if they were signed and like, let's say they found out they wanted to use someone else or something. But they understood at the time when they signed this with you. And then like someone reached out to them, oh, well, you should use this person. And they're like, okay, well, wait, I signed something with them. And it doesn't really lay out in here, like what happens if they don't follow through with this.
So
you know?
so one thing, I don't know if this will fully answer your question, but like whenever I do the exclusive agency agreement, we also do the normal agency agreement.
Yeah.
Because like you have to have
Mhm.
both, I'm pretty sure, right? You have to have both.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So like our form is just agency agreement, like our TCC version of it is just agency agreement. And then there's another one that's exclusive agency agreement. So like they're signing, and this is big, I will say, for getting people to sign, like no problem, is I put them into one form, downloaded it, re-uploaded it, save that as a template, and it's just agreement. Because then they're signing, okay, here's all the duties to you on like the regular agency agreement, and then the exclusive is like the third page of that. Because I will say when you send two, sometimes people are like, well, what's the difference?
Right.
Oh, I had the option to only sign this
That's a good
one.
idea.
So it's just, this is the agency agreement, we need it signed off. And they don't even really consider that there was another option. Because for me, and I think people sometimes hear that and they think it's like sketchy of us or something. And it's like, no, if you're gonna, like, we already work for free every single day until a contract closes. And how many people have had a contract, not close for whatever reason? So why would you not want to know that if I'm going to do all this work, then if they do close on a house, I'm going to get paid for it, right? And so that's where I think people just have this like really scared mindset of this. And it's like, but would you take any other job if you like had no guarantee that you were going to get paid for all like the time and work you put in? And I will say one thing I'll say in the meetings, like if someone's like, well, why would I sign this? Like, I don't want to commit to this. And I'm like, well, you work like a corporate job, right? And they're like, yeah. And then I'm like, well, you get paid every 2 weeks, don't you? Or every whatever. And then they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I just want to know that if I do my job and I find you a house and you close, that like I'll get paid.
I was just laughing a little bit because Angela, he just put in, can we get both in dot loop together? And actually based on Kelsey talking to Lance about it, we talked about that a lot in our dot loop committee about putting them in together. Just being concerned that agents wouldn't understand the difference in those.
Well, you can make any templates it's no different than sending over a pre-approval with the offer attached. So you just put them
Yeah.
together, download it, make a new template for it.
Yeah, but we can revisit that again. We'll talk about requests from agents, because usually if it's requests from agents, we are much
I
more
mean, I will
likely to
say
do
it
it.
might be nice just to have, like, if there's an option not to have like the two like titles, if it's just like exclusive agency agreement, and it's those 3 pages.
Mhm.
But I've never had anyone be like, well, what's the difference when I send them all together?
Okay. Yep, we will revisit. We will